Yep, good to go.
We are recording. Super. Hey everyone, my name is Peter, also known as Pete the Hybrid Guy, one of your instructors here at Certified Auto University. Super pumped to be here to talk to you today about some really cool stuff about car flipping. Little bit of history for me. I've been in the industry for 15 years. And like Andrew here, he's going to tell you about himself in just a minute. We buy and we flip cars. We do it for a profit. I was able to recently buy a Toyota Tundra that I've wanted for a long time, paid for it in cash, and was able to do upgrades and things to it. But I had that money that I set aside for it because it's something I wanted to do, but I was able to do it and afford it because I was using the skill set that I have that's so valuable, which is why we're here and what we're going to teach you about today. I'm going to let Andrew introduce himself and what he's about. So Andrew, take it away.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? My name's Andrew Napier, and I'm an entrepreneur, owner, most famously known for the owner of Pursuit Happiness Marketing, a marketing agency that I've set up over multiple years. But I've actually got majority of my start and majority of my whole business background in the automotive industry, both working at dealerships, running my own shops, running my own like used car lots, and also kind of doing flip cars on the side. Now, a little bit of side history personally is I've actually traded my way up from a beat up Honda Civic, and later on in this course you guys will see plenty of pictures of it and all my different flips and all this cool stuff. But I traded my way up from a beated up Honda Civic all the way up to an Evo 8, which happened to be my dream car, and it was 100% paid for. Didn't owe anybody anything for it, clean title in my name. And it was out of money that I had created over months and over the skill set of trading up to this nicer car. I currently now traded that Evo for a 2002 GTO, but it's still same principle, same concept. And currently right now, I actually, which is kind of funny, I have a bunch of car titles. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but I have 7 or 8 car titles right here. Now, this is currently what is just sitting here in my house. So like when I say we're teaching you stuff that really works, we're doing it as we're teaching it. So it's stuff that we're actively living and actively doing. And not only that is I have my ASCs, I've had multiple certificates as a mechanic, and I'm going to teach you guys literally everything you need to know, from flipping cars down to how the general diagnosis and how to fix and repair your own cars. So I'm pretty sure we got an awesome slide to show you guys. So I'm going to hand it back to Peter and let him take over.
Right on, man. Yeah, for sure, Andrew. Let me just share my screen here. And let's bring it up. Right there. You see it, Andrew?
Yep, we're good.
Awesome. So in this episode or rendition or class or whatever you want to call it today, we're going to talk about 5 points of car flipping. Some things that you need to know when you get in to do this business, to be successful at it, because that's what Andrew and I, we met over the internet. We've never actually met in person, but I feel Andrew's a good friend, and we both have a passion to do this, and that's one of the reasons that we are into it. But we also have a passion to help people, and I feel really blessed to have the skill set that I do, because it's always something that's been able to feed me and take care of my family, and so being able to help others do that is a dream for me coming true. So okay.
Definitely.
You stinking thing, you better work. It does work. That's good. Let's go over our outline. So what we're going to cover in this particular presentation tonight is just 5 different things: legal, resources, personal commitment. Why there's junk on my screen. All right, snooze that. Course, a general course overview, and then of course stakes to help you avoid pitfalls and things like that. So we'll just head on in over to our first slide. If you'll find this out about me later on, I actually was teaching college courses, automotive college courses, and so if I get kind of tunnel vision there, it's just the instructor in me coming out. So feel free whenever to be like, hey, can you help me understand this particular concept, or X, Y, and Z. Andrew and I are 100% open to answering your questions, because at least for me anyway, I get a little bit tunnel vision when I start talking about something, and sometimes those concepts don't always come through. So definitely ask questions as we go along. Um,
Yeah.
Legal. So first and foremost, the reason that we put this one at the very top is we everything that Andrew and I do has to be legal. It has to be something that's within the law of the land. We don't want to do anything that's shady, anything that's wrong, or anything that would hurt or destroy somebody's reputation. So, above all, we have to conform a little bit with the laws and regulations of where we live. One of the things that I would definitely tell you is to check with your local regulations, your local laws in your state or your country, depending on if you're out of the United States from where we're teaching from, right? To see what the regulations are for you buying and selling cars within a certain period of time. Okay, so I live in Washington State in the United States. And for me, I can buy and sell cars that are in my name. I can do that 4 times a year. That's it. Okay. Um, but Andrew and I were talking earlier, and Andrew, why don't you fill us in a little bit on some of the teamwork idea that can kind of happen here with that?
Yeah, definitely. So, in most states in the United States, you're have a very small range to 5 to 6 cars, depending what state, and you have to really check locally to make sure. I am speaking, but speaking for Ohio, I know you can legally buy and sell 5 cars in a physical year. So within 12-month period of time, you can only sell 5 cars. Now, this being said, there are multiple loopholes to get around doing this. Now, one of the main loopholes, which is the legal loophole to do, was to be at a partner or at some type of relationship. This could be a friend, this could be a spouse, this could be your parents, this could be your grandparents, anybody at all. As long as they have a name, they're good to go. Basically, what you're going to do is after you have traded your volume of 5 cars, you can then place other cars into other people's names, and still buy and sell them as if it's under your company. So that way you're handling the transaction, you're handling all the stuff, and you are basically just using somebody else's name, allowing you to legally move these cars until you have enough money to get your dealer's license and enough money to actually have your own lot and have your own registry. Now that comes with having multiple cars and having a physical location and a whole bunch of stuff that we'll get into later on in the program. But right now, you just need to find out how many cars you can buy and sell and hold. And you also need to find out not only cars but bikes and trailers. Like, how many bikes and trailers can you have in your name in one physical year, and how often do you have to change that? So some states all differ, but like I said, there's loopholes around it just by bringing in your other relatives, bringing in anybody that you can have a relationship with. You're going to make money, they're going to make money, everybody's going to be happy. So it's just a great way to build relationships and also build a really, really nice income as well. So but yeah.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And my wife, bless her soul, right? She's been buying and selling cars since we were married. So, um, but yeah, that's, we'll dive more into this kind of the specifics of this teamwork aspect as we get into the course itself. So hang tight, but let's jump over to thing number 2, resources. So as a mechanic, right? I kind of grew up as a poor kid, and when I remember getting my first car, and I remember having the alternator go out on it, right? And I'm like, oh, I can't really pay somebody to fix this. How can I fix it, right? And I didn't really know a whole lot about cars at that time. YouTube wasn't around because I'm that old, okay? And so I had to figure this stuff out, and I had to get resourceful. And I remember visiting a salvage yard and talking to the guy at the desk, and I was like, I need an alternator. And he's like, well, for what? And I was like, for my car. And he's like, well, what car do you have? Right. And it was kind of a funny story. I ended up getting an alternator for the car, and this was something that really set a lot of wheels into motion for me on how to be resourceful. Because after I repaired that alternator, I got this sense of pride, like, wow, I did something and my car works again. And there were other broken things on my car. The brakes went out, like several things, because it was a used car. I couldn't afford new at that point, right? And I learned how to do these things, and I learned how to change my tires. I got into the automotive program at the high school, and so when my tires were bad, I went and found some tires from the junkyard that were a good deal, that had good tread on them. and swapped them out at the school. Saved myself a ton of money doing it that way. Um, some things in uh, that we want to really help get built out in the course for you is kind of like your own Rolodex of systems and processes and people and places to go, things to do, so you know when you can do something, or if you really need to call in somebody who's got a little bit more experience than you do too. But again, this stuff is covered more in the full course. Andrew, is there anything you'd like
Definitely.
to add to that?
Yes, for sure. So what he means by like personal Rolodex. So for me personally here in Cincinnati, if I wanted to flip a car, if I wanted to fix like a hub bearing, a wheel bearing, where you need a press, where you need something like a big shop tool, like a welder or an exhaust bender or something like that. If you actually partner up with local mom and pop shops in your area, because they're all around you, localize yourself with them, build your Rolodex full of these shops, tire shops, exhaust shops, welding shops, all these different opportunities. And what happens is over months of not only giving them work for yourself, but not only flipping your cars and giving them money, they're eventually going to give you discounts on stuff. And then what you can then do is, as you grow your experience, have this Rolodex that you can now call on. So let's say you want to get new tires put on. Instead of having to pay a dealer price or a tire shop price for $500-$600 and $200 labor, now you're paying $30-$40 a tire and $100-$200 labor, or half of that. Or let's say doing alignments or doing a hub bearing. Let's say you have a car, it has a bad hub bearing on it. You know how to take the knuckle apart because that's really easy to do, and it takes very generic tools to do so. You get that hub apart, well, now you have to press in the bearing. You could take that hub up to the shop and say, hey guys, will you press in this bearing for me? And they'll charge you like 25 bucks to do it, compared to charging you $500 or $600 to do it themselves. So there's lots of ways that you can work with the smaller shops around you, to leverage that to actually allow you to get into actually building a Rolodex where you can have multiple places that do services for cheap. And when you get into doing customers' cars, like say your buddy finds out that you're working on cars and he's like, hey man, I want to bring you some work, or could you work on my car? You can then bring that work to your place or anywhere. And if you need a heavy duty shop or a heavy duty equipment, you can then take the part up to that shop and they will help you out. So, but
Absolutely,
yeah,
dude. Ton of value right there. And like I say, we get more in depth to this inside the course where we really talk about all these little things. And these are the tips, the tricks, the gold nuggets that Andrew and I know about that you guys don't, which makes it possible for you to be successful. So definitely tune into that when we get into that in the course. Um, Man, this is something, personal commitment is probably one of the biggest things, at least that I've seen, where, because I've had a lot of people come and ask me like, dude, how do you buy and flip cars for profit? And I'm like, I just want it, dude. I know that that's a way that I can make money. I know how to leverage my skill set. I know, you know, when I'm in too deep, when I'm not in too deep. I know me and I know how to do this. And it's really easy to just give up, be like, oh man, I can't believe I did this or I did that. And it's easy to beat yourself up. I'll tell you, the first car that I bought and flipped, I lost money on. And because I didn't know what I was doing, I thought I had this great car. It had low miles for the year, but it turns out it was a horrible, horrible investment. Um, uh, I'll have to tell you more about that later, like in a totally separate thing. It's kind of a long story, but I ended up getting rid of it. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I just lost probably $2,000 or $3,000 into that stupid car. Like, why would I ever want to go through that again? And it was at that point that I had some life-changing things. But I've always committed to myself, that I'm going to make at least $1,000 a car whenever I sell a car. And that's a hard commitment when you get into this, and you really start to see it. But I will tell you that it is very possible. Actually, just a couple weekends ago, I took a 6-hour drive to sell a car to a lady, and I made $2,500. My cost was going to be about $3,500, but something ended up happening to the car, and I covered the cost of the repair for it because I didn't have tools or the part to fix it. But I still ended up making $2,500, and it was a great day. The lady was totally happy with the car, and it's definitely possible. But the reason I put this quote up here, whether you think you can or you can't, you are right, by Henry Ford. Sometimes we got to get out of here to really realize, what we've got inside. And, it's committing to doing it that's going to make the big difference. Andrew, did you want to add anything to that?
Outside of what you just said, it's committed to doing it. That really resonates with what you guys are about to embark on, what you guys are getting into. So if you're not familiar with the automotive industry, you're not familiar with working on cars, that's fine. We're going to teach you everything you need to know. But if you are, you already know this. Working on cars, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of things that are hidden that can really mess you up and really cause some downturns. There's a lot of broken parts that happen. There's a lot of buying cars and thinking maybe they're perfect in one way, and then you get to looking at it and they're not so perfect in that way. There's a lot of due diligence stuff that you have to personally prepare yourself for. That's not like any other industry, because there is unforeseen stuff and a lot of unforeseen stuff. We can help you and guide you from avoiding it, but and realistically, with being an automotive industry, it's just going to happen. That's just the nature of working on cars and buying and selling in cars. So yeah.
Right on, man. I totally agree with that for sure. But again, this is stuff that you'll be able to get the support inside the group, and more of this will come along in the course too. So, ooh, this is my favorite one right here. And I specifically chose, when I built this presentation, to put a 1990 Dodge Caravan right here on this page. So mistakes. You heard me talk a little bit about a mistake that I made. And you know what? Mistakes happen. They're lessons, learn from them. And failure is expected on some level. Like, I can tell you, like, I've blown up engines, and I've let people drive my cars and they've exploded my transmission. Like, things happen. And you got to be willing to not beat yourself up, but learn from that mistake. Time is your most valuable asset as you learn and grow as an individual, which is, I'm very big into personal development. That, beyond anything else that I could ever offer anybody, is my time. And to set aside time, that you'll learn it. You'll learn it. Don't worry about that. But you need to be able to leverage your time, so you know where your money's going, so you know how to be most effective with your most valuable asset. Man, so number 2 on this list right here, knowing when to walk away from a deal. Ugh, yeah, I have a lot of people reach out to me online, and because online I go by Pete the Hybrid Guy. Like, I'm really into hybrids and stuff like that, which is a good market. But people reach out to me and they're like, oh, I just bought XYZ car, and I think it was a bad deal, and it's doing this and it's doing this. And in my mind, I already know what's going on. I'm like, oh, they got screwed so bad. But the thing is a lot of people don't know that. And so I usually look at those as opportunities, right? If this person's car is totally hosed and I have another one on my lot that's ready in the pipeline, hey, I'll trade you this car for that car, plus you give me some cash on top. You get a good working car that I've gone through and that's trusted. And then I have another vehicle that I know how to fix, turn, and sell. So knowing how to walk away from a deal is, or just knowing if it is a bad deal, is a big deal to us. And we're going to dive more into that inside the course. Andrew, you want to take the next couple?
Yeah, we left off on number 2, didn't you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so number 3, and this is kind of funny how he had me want to jump into this, is kind of knowing when you're in too deep. So I'm going to bring you back to 2020. I'm going to bring you back to the nightmare that I wish I never had. So this is actually my little brother's car, and it was a 2000 Honda Civic. It had 130,000 miles on it, and we basically rebuilt the motor, we rebuilt the suspension, we rebuilt the braking system, we dumped $2,000+ into this car, and then the cylinder wall gave out. The only thing we didn't freaking replace. Like literally, we replaced the head, we replaced the springs, the whole nine. We just didn't do the block, and that's actually what failed. So it was a complete lemon. We couldn't get that much money out of it. We were already over $3,000 into a Honda Civic that was 20+ years old now, and yeah, it's just you have to know when you're in too deep. You have to recognize exactly what you're getting into, what the extent of the repairs could be, what the extent of the car could be, what the extent of the value is, and you just got to be able to depict when you actually want to walk away or not walk away. You have to know when you're in too deep. That's something that a lot of people make mistakes on because they get a car and it could have really low miles, but it could have 5,000 issues, and you fix 2 or 3 issues. The next thing you know, you have a laundry list more of issues to fix, and you're out of a car. It's just you have to know when to kind of avoid digging in too deep. And then number four, and that's coming in at price. Now, price meaning value. So apps like what's a good one? Carfax or Carfox, whatever it's called nowadays. You have your KBBs, you have your KNBs. Basically, these are sites that rate how much money your car values for. Now, a lot of people go off of KBB, which is Kelly Blue Book. Now, Kelly Blue Book will undermine your cars by a ton. So, for instance, right now I have a 2002 Ford Ranger that I'm working on flipping. According to KBB, the Ford Ranger is only worth $1,200. Now, if you look online and you actually look at real value place marketplace value, meaning Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Pinterest, OfferUp, these places where you're actually buying and selling these cars, they're going for $2,500 to $3,000 in the same condition I have. So you have to know how to price point things, because far too often I see people get into flipping cars. They'll get a really nice car, they'll undervalue it, they'll sell it really quickly, and they'll take a little bit of profit, but there's so much more profit to make. And you just got to know how to depict if you're in the real world market value or if there's just like a site trying to undervalue your car.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And then number five is basically kind of knowing how to negotiate. So the best way to put that is knowing how to talk somebody down, specifically in the automotive industry, to allow you to purchase their car for way cheaper than you thought you could get it for. There's a lot of skills involved in doing this, where you can point out how much stuff's going to cost to repair. You can point out specific things that are broken on the car. You can point out title issues. You can point out a whole plethora full of things that we're going to teach you later on in the course, and it's going to be its own lesson. But basically, there's a lot of different negotiation skills that you can leverage, using the car as leverage to get the price even lower down. And there's the opposite of this, which is your price negotiation for when you're selling. And far too often, people learn how to negotiate people down, but then they get undermined when people come and they buy cars from you, because you will get negotiated. Basically, people walk in and get better deals on you because you're not sure how to up the value on your car. You're not sure how to up the perceived value on the car to make it worth more to the person you're selling it to. So that's kind of where price comes into tuition. We're actually going to have an entire lesson on that inside the program as well. So I think that's actually all is that all five of them, if I'm correct?
Yeah, that is absolutely. Yeah, good call, man. Like, this guy knows what's up, like for real. Andrew's the man.
I've been through the ringer. Dude,
For sure.
it was kind of funny. I was looking through all of like the amount of cars that I've flipped, because when we were building this program, I was like, there's got to be a number. And I lost count of like 136 cars. Like that's personal cars. That's not even what my lot has gone through. That's not anything. Like I've had deuces, I've had school buses, I've had tow rigs, I've had anything you could possibly think of. I've most likely owned it and flipped it and traded it. So yeah.
Cool, man. That's cool. I haven't had a school bus yet, but I got a feeling it's coming. It's coming.
It's on the way.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up here with our number five, just kind of a course overview, so y'all know what's going on, like what you can really be expecting. Like I said in the beginning, and I won't speak for Andrew, but I know kind of where his intention is, because he's a person that loves to give back, like where he can. Dude's just genuine heart of gold. And so something that we really strive to do is to help people kind of build themselves as well. So you're not just going through a course to learn how to do a thing, but it's stuff that we want to help you with, your personal life as well. So some of the things that we'll do in the course will be like mindset, how to get your mind right, how to, kind of like look at your day and see what you got to do to tackle. Because when you're right up here, when you're right in your mind, you know, a lot of other things can fall into place for you. And it's not to say that you won't have bad days or bad transactions with people, or someone's just going to be a jerk to you. But there's a way to like kind of mitigate a lot of the BS that goes on, and just focus back on the good things, and carry that with you. And that's a big part of being successful in anything. Whether it's flipping cars, whether it's flipping burgers, whether it's flipping flops, whatever it is, if your mindset's right, you're going to be right too. Skill building. So, some of you that are coming into this course, you've probably changed brakes before. Some of you that are coming into this course, you may have done like serpentine belts or spark plugs. And some of you just may have like zero experience whatsoever. We're going to do our best to help you build out a skill set. Obviously, it's kind of hard doing things from a virtual standpoint, but we have resources, right? I when I was teaching, I would tell my students this all the time, because they'd be like, "Well, I don't know how to do X, Y, and Z." I'm like, "Bro, don't even give me excuses right now." Because when I was a kid, like when I first was learning to drive, I had to go through a freaking like troubleshooting manual with paper, and I had to read stuff, and I had to figure it out that way. I'm like, dude, you got like YouTube and the internet. Like, don't give me an excuse on how not to do something. Just ask questions if you're like, I need help understanding a concept or getting past this little thing. The resources are there for sure. So we want to help you build that skill set out. One of the biggest things, and like I see this all the time, is finding the right vehicle. People reach out to me all the time. I bought a lemon. I bought a car that's bad. I didn't know this. If I only would have known, like all these things people say to me, and we want to help you with that. Some neat things that we're putting together are going to be some lists of what to look for when finding a vehicle, right? Because anybody can walk up to a car and it can look great on the outside, but until you actually open the hood or look under the car, you're not going to know really which route you want to take with it. And that can be a really difficult thing. And the last thing that we want to see is anybody really getting hosed by a deal, getting in too deep because they didn't check X, Y, and Z before buying that vehicle. Andrew already kind of touched on negotiation, and again, we're going to cover that in the course. But I'm going to go ahead and let him take the next couple and explain repair, cleaning, test driving, just some other stuff that you're going to see in the course too.
Yeah, so we're basically going to something that I wish I knew, and like I wish I knew way sooner than I had learned. And I had learned just like Peter, through trial and error, and actually going to the junkyard and like breaking things on cars, and actually going to mechanic school and going to get schooling for it to become a mechanic. I wish somebody could have just like streamlined a lot of things for me. There was a lot of things that I know now that I wish I knew when I first started this, and when I first started even owning my own car, because a lot of the times, especially when I was younger, YouTube really wasn't that big. There wasn't like that many tutorial videos out there. There wasn't like that much stuff available to you to learn just general diagnostics on cars, and just general repair on cars, and just general upkeep on cars. And that's just something that we want to cover inside of the course, basically allowing anybody to be able to take general repairs on cars. Even if it's a car that you own and you're not trying to flip cars, you're going to drive a car the rest of your life. So just knowing general mechanical skills is going to be 100% something you actually want. And then cleaning is actually something that a lot of people don't teach. So there's a lot of different methods to cleaning stuff off on cars. So what I mean by that is not just like detailing your car and taking it to the car wash. No, what I mean is like if you get a sunshade or sun spots on your car, there's ways to get that out. Let's say your plastic pieces are all raggedy and really bad looking. There's cheap ways to make them look brand new without literally spending more than $20 on just a couple of products. There's like your dash renew. There's a bunch of different interior stuff that you need to know. There's little itty bitty tricks that can make the car look that much newer, which in return makes you that have that much more perceived value to the end result, which is more profit. So there's a lot of stuff involved there that we're actually going to cover, especially in the paint and outside of the car, because there's a lot of different stuff and a lot of different products that you can use. I mean, I'm sure you guys have probably spent some time in the automotive aisle at any store. There's like 40 billion different soaps and waxes and protectants and everything else. So like knowing what ones are cheap, what ones are going to last long, and what ones are actually going to do work and actually make the car look better, we want to share that with you so you can actually be able to get in that. Test driving. Now test driving is something a lot of people, I've never, in all my years, and I've been in this industry for my entire life. Like I've been working on cars my entire life. I have never once been in the car on a test drive and some with somebody and have them been able to say, hey, this noise is making it, what is causing this noise, well, this is what it could be. These are like, this is the range of what that noise could be, particularly off of sound. It allowing you to do that, basically you can take car for a test drive and know for 100% certainty if you're going to buy a lemon, if you're not going to buy a lemon. There's certain testing procedures that a lot of people don't do before they get a car, like has it been cleaned and power washed before to get all the oil spots off? There's ways to tell that, because if it's been cleaned, guess what? You have oil leaks that are unforeseen because the owner had cleaned it. There's a lot of different testing that people don't do, like taking it around the highway for at least 35 minutes so everything reaches prime optimal temperature. If the stuff is not reaching prime optimal temperature, you're never going to know if your thermostat's bad. You're never going to know if your water pump's bad. You're never going to know if like the warming up systems once they're at temperature are actually going to work, or if they're going to fail, because a lot of times people buy a car, drive it around the block, be like, okay, this is a good deal, and then get it on the long-term test drive. And that's when they actually start discovering some of the issues. So we want to cover that, and we want to do a deep dive into just test driving alone, both how to tell the noises of a car and what could cause it, and exactly how to test them properly to make sure you're not going to get a limit. And then last but not least, and I believe that's actually it, actually, on our
There's, yeah,
list right now.
that yeah, sorry, man. But yeah, that list just kind of goes on. There's a lot of content in this course.
Right,
I
it's huge. It's huge. It's like trying to it's like trying to explain a book by its cover. It's really hard to do. There's just so much going to be involved in this program. I mean, just think about how much is on your car by itself. We're going to dive into almost every single one of them systems, and we're also going to dive into the systems of selling, buying, and trading them. So it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be awesome.
Well, cool, man. I'm gonna go ahead and just stop sharing my screen here, bring it back to us for a minute. And again, I can't think of a better guy to work with than Andrew. And honestly, like, I'm really excited to be able to do this. I got out of teaching because I've had other opportunities in the industry. And that's just part of life, is, when one door closes, another one opens. And so I'm excited because teaching it's my jam. I still love it. And I can't think of another better way to help people than to push off some of my skill set onto others that want to know and want to learn and want to grow. So yeah, I'm just so excited to have everybody here, and let's get at it.
Pumped and excited, ready to go. Yeah, guys, it was nice tuning in. I just appreciate everybody from coming on, and we'll see you guys on the next training. And I appreciate all of you guys for being in the members.
Absolutely. See ya.
See ya.